Welcome to the Video Insiders podcast. I'm Carlos Pacheco.
And I'm Tom Martin.
And we're two grizzled YouTube industry veterans with billions of views between us.
And in front of us.
And in front of us. And we're here to give you our 2 cents on the business of YouTube so you can make more dollars. News, strategy, insights, and just a little bit of like smartassness and snark. My turn to say this, Tom. What's the word on the street?
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
I'm going to correct you on that one because when this episode will be out, it'll be beginning to look a lot like after Christmas.
Okay, yes. Oh, yeah, because we're in the past and the future at the same time.
Exactly.
Well, in that case, I've just eaten enough to get me into the All-Star UK eating team. The heaviest I've ever been, hungover, way behind on my work, empty bank balance, and my recycling bin is full of wrapping paper and finished cards. How's that?
And I would expect your credit card bill is going to be due in about a week.
Oh, yeah. The house is going to be foreclosed the week after. So, yeah.
Awesome. By this time, I should be all done with the whole family stuff and like looking forward to a few days of like post-holidays rest pre-New Year's. Speaking of New Year's, as we close up our first year of doing this podcast, congratulations, Tom.
Can we have a little golf clap for that, please?
Anyways, we're finishing our first year of doing the VIP. I would say it's been a learning experience because, I've been doing 2 podcasts for the past 2 years, and we basically started VIP almost at the same time as I started my other podcast with my wife. I would say the first 6 months are sort of rocking and rolling in terms of you learning the ropes, but things are starting to get streamlined a bit, and we're sort of getting our vibe, I guess.
Yeah, I think we definitely deserve some critics. I think that the statistic is something along the lines of most podcasts never get past episode 6. Mm-hmm. And we've been going for a year now. We've had some great guests. We've spoken about some evergreen stuff. We've kind of broken down some kind of breaking news. So I'm really, really proud of what we've done so far. I'm really excited for the year to come because I know we're going to go even stronger and even harder for the podcast this year. So please let us know at Video Insiders on all the socials or hello@videoinsiders.fm if you've got any subjects that you want us to tackle or anyone in the industry or any creators that you'd like us to interview for the podcast. We'd love to hear your requests.
So obviously the title of this podcast is going to be somewhere around the lines of like recapping 2019, our predictions, what happened to our predictions for 2019 and what's going to happen for 2020 or what we think is going to happen for 2020. But before we get started, I want to send out a big thank you to our friends at Tubebuddy. Tubebuddy is the ultimate tool for creators to streamline their daily workflow on YouTube, allowing for more time to make more great content. For brands to help reduce their busy work and focus on what matters, growing your business on YouTube. For agencies to manage multiple clients and for networks to give partners the tools for success and an attractive incentive for recruitment. Tom, do we have a special offer?
Yes. If for some reason in 2019 you weren't using Tubebuddy, then get 2020 off to a big banging start by visiting videoinsiders.fm/Tubebuddy, where you can get an exclusive Video Insiders discount. That's videoinsiders.fm/Tubebuddy. Thank you and a Happy New Year to our friends at Tubebuddy.
Happy New Year, Tubebuddy. Now, let's get started on what we're going to discuss today, which first step, the year 2019 turned out to be quite a banger year in terms of news, drama, everything that happened around YouTube. And one of the things that, as we went through what happened in 2019, we looked at, our predictions. I realized that we need to sort of separate things in terms of the way we talk, the way we address what's happening on a platform. The way we look at a platform is we try to stay away from the drama, the creator drama that's essentially made to drive views from my perspective. Anything when it comes to beefs between YouTubers and all that sort of stuff. And there were a lot. And we tried to stay away from that, and we sort of like paid attention more to what happened to the platform, the changes, and all that sort of stuff. But before we get too deep into that, what I'll do is when we release this podcast, I'll put a list of everything we find notable that happened throughout the year. And there's almost 2 to 3 things a month. There are certain months where there's like almost half a dozen, things. And then the way we're going to do this episode is we're going to look back at our predictions for 2019, what happened to them, and then talk about our predictions for 2020. Tom, what was your big prediction for 2019?
Well, my big prediction for 2019 was the demise of large-scale user-generated content. And when I'm talking about user-generated content, I'm not talking about people's homemade videos, viral videos. I'm talking about people at home uploading kind of pirated TV and movie content, like full episodes, and companies making a crap ton of money off of that. I saw that as a trend in demise at the end of 2018 as YouTube kind of pushed towards more official content. I think that had probably a lot to do with kind of preparing for what was expected to come with Article 13, which kind of hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah.
And I'd say, if we were going to give these kind of predictions a rating of 1 to 5 stars, it's hard for me to say exactly because I'm kind of out of running big TV channels at the moment. I'd say generally from whispers and what I saw at the start of the year, I'd probably give myself like a 4 out of 5 for this. Carlos, you've still got a bit more hand in the kind of TV content and rights protection world. What would you say as to the accuracy of that prediction?
Yeah, I think it's when you say 4, do you mean 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 10?
4 out of 5. Yeah, 4 out of 5.
Okay, so I would give you a 3 out of 5. At the end, the one thing that I'll admit is when you go onto YouTube, when you open your YouTube app, like the main thing you see right now is original content. You don't see anything else, anymore bubbling up. Anything that's pirated, even if it gets a lot of attention, just doesn't show up in anything recommended. That being said, I still manage some libraries for clients, and I don't have enough to say that, okay, I've been looking at the last, 2 years, 10 years, I don't have access to certain libraries. And from that length, I manage my own. And it's been growing for the past little while. And that's because I've been getting more clients to help them with that. So it's tough to say that if it's gone down or up. For me, it's going up because I'm getting more and more libraries that I access. And I do have, some, I won't call them UGC, but like, original TV shows that are just being uploaded that aren't really original content. But at the same time, I'm catching piracy. So it's still happening. There's still, there's always emerging markets. Obviously, North America is pretty saturated. But at the same time, like I still see tons of people. What I do see more is people jumping into the whole commentary side of things and sort of understanding that if they're going to upload something and they want it to stay online, they're going to put some sort of commentary over it and claim fair use. And that's where they get around with that. They sort of learned that. And even, most of it's complete BS. But yeah, to me, it's still there. It's still happening. Anecdotally, like it's so funny. Just in the last week, I was looking at, I got back on this website that I haven't touched in ages, and I still realize it's still super relevant, is LiveLeak. And I'm like, oh man, this site still is so old school, but it's still so relevant, and still so many people use it as a reference for sharing viral and UGC content. And I feel like those platforms will live on forever because people really, really it's just the type of content that people love to share.
And what about the kind of scene with regards to Article 13, which kind of was a massive scare story late 2018, early 2019, and then earlier this year as well, we had, I think it was Article 17, which was also being brought up. Have you heard much more around those kind of EU directives, which may or may not be at the end of YouTube again? Like, because we know that YouTube has died like once every month for the last 10 years.
Hashtag YouTube is over. Yeah. Honestly, it feels like it just tapered off for the time being. Honestly, because you just haven't heard about it. And to me, like, since we talked about it early on the year, it's sort of like, okay, nothing's happened. Nobody's making us think about it. There's other things, other fires that people are dealing with. And it's still a huge risk. It's still, if it's still out there, or it's just, dead on the vine at this point. I don't know. Have you heard anything about it?
No, apparently there was a kind of copyright summit for big media publishers around a month or two ago. Obviously, I was NFI to that because I'm out of the kind of industry now, but I think there are kind of quiet rumblings, but the fact that we're not seeing this kind of large scale campaigning from the likes of YouTube and big media publishers mean that it may be further off in the distance than first thought. So we'll keep an eye on that in 2020 for sure. Let's go on to one of your predictions that you made this time last year, Carlos, and that was YouTube's continued deployment of tighter rules and clamping down and enforcing rules more closely. And this one definitely foreshadowing a lot of stuff going on. Government paying closer attention to the platform. I'm giving you 6 stars out of 5 for this one.
Boom.
But you also get the most obvious prediction award as well for this one. So
that's how I roll. Obvious prediction. We obviously saw a lot of obviously the FCC getting into it, and just in the last couple of weeks, the whole clamping down on abuse and just basically cleaning things up because brands want clean content, and that's something that has been a staple for forever. And I've I feel like a broken record all the time, but brands, YouTube has always been a second banana to precise, niche websites. When I say niche website, I mean stuff like a CNN.com, right? I call it niche because it caters to a specific audience and it has a sort of an isolated ecosystem for content. And even though they're not perfect, we do end up with stories where my ad appeared next to crappy content. It's still much more controlled content than YouTube. That's what brands will pay higher CPMs for. And I think anybody that sticks around and figures out how to play within the sandbox will do well.
Yeah, we also saw them clamp down in terms of deleting a lot of comments from kind of children's content. And they also went and shut down a lot of accounts that were kind of doing very questionable comments on those kids' videos as well. So they really have been coming down with a ban hammer. And it's about time they took a little bit more responsibility instead of just kind of putting their hands up in the air and just saying, oh, we're just a platform.
Yeah.
And so my comment last year was that the FCC specifically would start to take more responsibility, which they have done in a big way. They fined YouTube 170 million and has kind of kicked off this whole kids COPA, end of days, which is about to happen or has already happened. If you listen to this in early January.
Actually, exactly.
Yeah, so I actually thought they would clamp down a little bit more on stuff like product placement and affiliate links, something that we spoke about with Jesse in one of our previous episodes. Link to that in the show notes. But yeah, they went even bigger. They went even bigger and said it's the collecting of kids' data, which is the real big fish here that they had to fry, which is absolutely correct, but one that I thought was probably too big for them to go after, but they did do so. Again, we've got episodes dedicated just to that, so check out our podcast feed on the podcast app of your choice and you'll be able to find that, no problem. So I did mention product placement, and I do think this is going to be a big part of what the FCC are going to continue to look at, especially with regards to content now that is directed at kids. I believe that a lot of the big toy companies and big creators such as Ryan's Toy Review, which is now very conveniently called Ryan's Family Review. Think about that, whatever you will. Yeah. I think there's a lot of big lawsuits coming for those. I think there's already been one or two already publicly filed to take these kind of companies to task for basically advertising to kids in the stealth of just content marketing, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be fun times ahead. Now, let's talk about your second prediction. FameBit, the influencer marketing platform, will be promoted and used more aggressively in 2019. And that was the big
yeah.
And I said like that, yeah, if that happens, it will be integrated a little bit more into Google Ads, which, everything didn't happen.
Yeah, so no, FameBit still exists as far as I'm aware, but it's getting no love from the mothership, from what I can tell.
My 2 cents is that it's going to join the Google graveyard in very short time. Where I'm seeing influencer marketing going is that, yeah, there's a lot of press about it, but I think the smart brands have sort of learned that it has to be taken care of a little closer. You have to build a good relationship with that influencer. And if all you do is hire an influencer to post a picture, you're going to get crappy value from, or post a quick video, you're going to get crappy value from that money. And there's been too much abuse. And I think in hindsight, when you look at it, it's like, yeah, Google doesn't like it when ads get bad press, and creators have, been running a little unregulated for many, many years, and they still sort of like, skirt some questionable tactics that, the FTC would not approve of.
Yeah, my thinking behind the prediction was that they'd made this investment and you think that they'd at least try and kind of give it a go before they send it to the big farm in the sky. But it seems that it just doesn't make sense from a business point of view. Google are a big data company. FameBit is like a small self-service platform, which doesn't really scale a huge amount when you think about it. So, yeah, in hindsight, you question why they made that acquisition in the first place. Really, it's doesn't really make a lot of sense when you think about it. Kind of like my prediction. So,
so what was my second one?
Your second prediction was kind of closely related to your first one.
Yeah,
basically the tightening of what is considered to be kind of advertiser friendly and community friendly content.
Yeah, I also mentioned that long form content would be the only one that matters, and that Hollywood would be coming for the platform. I feel like, I guess my ecosystem, I'm still, surrounded by Will Smith, Jack Black, The Rock as being sort of like the tentpole examples. I know there's more. There's a few women out there, and I feel bad that I only see the men on my sort of things. But yeah, it feels like it's there. It's still happening, and people are paying more and more attention to it. The second prediction is sort of like piggybacks on the first one, where, content is just becoming more TV friendly, right? I feel there's definitely a tighter synergy now with these stars when it comes to their YouTube channels and the movies they're promoting. They're making sure that when their videos are talking about their movies and showing behind the scenes and giving hints of what's to come. And that's to me, from a marketer's perspective, that's the golden ticket. It's like, that's perfect. Like, somebody who has an ecosystem that they can create excitement for their product is perfect. One of the comments that you had put is the expansion of YouTube TV and official uploads, back catalogs, movies, and TV shows. I think that's sort of still happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It gets less press, I think one of the things this year is that the price went up for YouTube TV. It's turned into much more of a, almost like a cable package. It's not available where I am, so I don't have much experience. It hasn't expanded beyond much, from what I've seen, the US yet.
No, but I think it has now hit all 52 states, whereas probably last time we spoke it hadn't, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it was sort of like a meh second prediction.
Yeah.
So I'll go to that one.
Yeah, I'm going to push you for some more out on a limb predictions for next year. But for now, let's quickly go through the quickfire questions.
Oh.
I asked, will IGTV still be something? And Carlos said, no, everything will become stories. Kind of true. IGTV still exists as a feature, but nobody's using it. No one's creating for it. They've tried one last kind of Hail Mary by putting IGTV video previews into the feed, but I'd say no, it's not really a thing, is it?
Just like Facebook video.
Yeah. Will we be using YouTube stories? Carlos said yes. That's doubly incorrect, Carlos, because we never used YouTube stories. And,
when you say we, you talk about us?
Well, I'm saying anyone. I don't think anyone.
I see it all the time.
Really?
I see it on my app all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe
it's the different creators that we subscribe to and stuff like that, but
yeah,
I don't really hear it as a thing. I don't hear people any of the kind of summits and places. I don't hear anyone talking about how to use stories effectively or why you need to be using stories. I have heard a bit more about the community tab, which I thought would be dead by now, but apparently there's still some good gains to be had by using that. But
I see stories as a sort of an offshoot of the community tab, right? It's much more engaging, and it doesn't. One of the things I'm curious, and again, I'll be first to say, I don't have experience with a channel that has stories, because I think they're really being really careful as to who to give it to, which I think is smart. I think YouTube has learned that, hey, maybe we shouldn't give all these power features to everybody at the same time, and we should pick and choose and be a little bit more diligent as to who's using it. And I see it used. It's just people reposting their Instagram stories, reposting their Snapchat stories, all that sort of stuff. And which goes back to the other question after that. You said, will Snapchat still exist? And I said, no, that was my big fail, because Snapchat's actually, in a way, I've been hearing comments of them sort of coming back, and, people still, going back to the platform. And the platform still to this day is where creativity exists. I mean, I would say TikTok has sort of taken over the stories ecosystem, and creativity as well, but it's still the place where I love to sort of experiment with their face mapping system, because it's still by far better than anything I've ever seen. So,
and for the rest of the world, Carlos means filters.
Yes.
For you young people.
Yes.
He's talking about
old
filters.
Man.
Yeah. And then last one, who will topple YouTube? You said maybe Facebook. No one's took a shot at the crown yet, I don't think.
Yeah, and you could even say we'll talk about predictions.
I'd say if anything, TikTok has probably got a little closer than Facebook, but let's say that predictions. I've got a feeling there's going to be some TikTok happenings going on in there. We're talking about with what happened last year in our predictions. We've mentioned a number of things, tightening of rules and regulations. I don't really want to go through each month and say what happened this year. No. But is there anything that we haven't touched on, Carlos, that you think does deserve a mention before we go on to our predictions for next year?
At the end of the day, I think that the COPPA stuff and the reinforcement of harassment, policy change over the last couple of weeks is important. It's obviously important, but it's that whole thing where these rules have always been there. It's just that YouTube always sort of played a blind eye. They've made things a lot more clearer. They're going to start, enforcing them a lot more. And that's, to me, the main lesson of the year is YouTube finally saying, okay, regulators are finally understanding what we're doing here, and we need to play bad cop a little bit more than we used to play good cop. So that's, to me, the main story of the year. It's everybody, raising it up to YouTube to say hey, it's not fair that you're letting certain people get away with certain things, and then other people get away with other things, and then when the FTC got involved, they're like, oh yeah, you're right, we sort of have to pay attention to these things because we kind of have to, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that's the main theme of the year that
I definitely think it's kind of the year that YouTube kind of got the beat down or the wrist slap, whatever you want to call it, and got a wake up call that's kind of been coming. I think probably next year will be the year when they really have to act, not just say sorry, but actually act grown up and clean house. So Speaking of next year, let's go on to our predictions for next year. I haven't shared mine in advance, Carlos, because I want to keep you on your toes and make sure you don't try and steal mine.
What happens if we overlap?
Well, that's good. That means we're thinking on the same wavelength. So because I'm talking now, I'm going to go first for no other reason that I've already got the platform. So I'm going to go with a home run here. I've written these down on paper so Carlos can't spy on them. And I've realized that the name of this one is really inappropriate. The death of kids. That's a horrible way to phrase it. But basically I'm saying that the COPA FTC enforced wholesale changes coming to YouTube in January is pretty much going to wipe out the kids industry, especially for independent creators post January. I think with people's revenues falling off a cliff, and January is usually bad enough for most creators, let alone with the changes that are coming to the monetization of kids content. I just think that wholesale people are just going to give up. I think they're just going to be so disheartened that most independent creators, bedroom creators, are just going to give up. I think TV companies that have catalogs of kids stuff will continue to publish, probably at a slowed down rate. They'll try to weather the storm, take whatever money they can get, maybe try and kind of ride the wave because there'll be less competition. And so they might not see as big a drops as other people. And then hopefully by the time monetization is quote unquote fixed, they will then be in a position where, because they've been the only ones that have been uploading regularly, they can kind of swoop in and take any money that's kind of new to available to kids kind of inventory. And I think they're going to generally loosen their ad restrictions or slower to demonetize videos, or at least push more advertising to edgy content, because they need to make up a huge advertising shortfall from kids. And they're likely going to make that from kind of more edgier, mature content across the platform. So that's my big giant number one prediction.
Okay, well, my 2 cents when it comes to that is, bedroom creators, which sounds awkward when you talk about kids content, but that's going to be like disappear, and the only ones that are going to survive are major networks that have other revenue sources. And from a monetization perspective, there's going to be a huge adjustment. The thing is, it's still a huge audience. There's a reason why there are huge kids networks out there, is because there's still demand for it. And YouTube is just going to find a way to just target contextually. And that's, it's going to be old school targeting. It's going to be much more isolated. Again, it brings back that whole theme of like creating a box that's controlled, that the brand feels safe. And when a brand feels safe, it will pay to be in front of those eyeballs. So the only people who can be vetted through the system are going to be big networks, people who have been doing it for a long time, people who are big TV networks that have like established brands. And what will this limit is the ability to create new brands in the ecosystem, because there's no way to discover yourself, right? There's no recommendation engine. There's going to be a less powerful recommendation engine for kids content. And you're not going to be like watching one video and then being recommended a video from a new creator. That's going to be very limited. So the only people that are going to live off this are people who've established a brand beyond YouTube, where people are going to be searching for it and know the name So that's going to be very interesting to see. But yeah, I'll give you that one for 2020.
I've realized actually that was my first two because the edgy content one was actually my second.
Boom, you just ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, sorry. So that's 2 in 1 there, Carlos. So fire away for your first prediction, please.
My prediction, and I tend to be a little less controversial, is there's a chart that came out a couple weeks ago on Reddit that showed the difference between 2010 to 2019 in terms of percentage of top 100 channels that were from YouTubers versus non-YouTubers, and non-YouTubers being, big media companies or TV stars or music stars. And pretty drastically in 2010, 80% of the top 100 channels were from YouTubers. And in 2019, it dropped down to 28%. I expect that to drop below 20% in 2020. Just looking at the top 10, we're looking at, it used to be 9 out of 10 were YouTubers in 2010, and 2019, there's 2 out of 10. So that's already 20% as opposed to 28%. So as we're talking right now, the big news that dropped is PewDiePie taking a break. Biggest creator out there, the biggest independent creator out there is taking a break from his platform. And I don't blame him. I mean, he's been doing this for so long, and the guy's, richer than God at this point for the size of company he is. Like, he's good. I always, this is me on a tangent here. It's like, if I was making the type of money that he's been making for the past, 5 to 6 years, I'd be like, peace out, I'm done.
Yeah, sitting on a beach in Thailand or something like that.
Exactly, right? And, obviously if he loves it and he wants to keep doing it, that's fine. But I'm just, putting myself in his shoes. But yeah, like, I think that the demise of the YouTuber is going to
accelerate.
That's the word that I was trying to find. And they're going to other platforms. They're back to the whole TikTok thing. It's like, where is creativity living these days? It's these TikToks, people experimenting on other platforms where they can grow. And YouTube is doing everything it can to promote established channels. I keep looking at one of the NBCs or American TV networks, and I'm looking at the videos they're releasing on a almost daily basis or every couple of days. I'm like, they're exactly like YouTuber videos. They've mimicked the format, and they're just going to take that over. The problem here is that what I've seen, with the internet is that often when that happens is like the creators find another place, another outlet, because, mainstream is taken over. So I definitely think, and it's a little bit of a cop out because I feel like it's more of a sort of continuation of last year, but it's kind of sad. The reason why I'm on this platform, the reason why I love this platform is the creativity coming from creators, the ones who are, making things different. When networks come in, all they do is they copy a format and then they rinse and repeat, and they don't innovate. They usually just keep it going until it dies. They kill it. Usually they kill the format, right?
Yeah, they bleed it dry. Yeah,
they bleed it dry, and that's what they're doing. I mean, when you're seeing mainstream platforms, making ASMR commercials, I'm like, oh crap, that's where things are getting starting to get a little bit ridiculous. So that's one of my predictions, is sort of the demise of the top 100. It's going to be, it's going to be TV networks, it's going to be TV stars, it's going to be music artists, obviously music channels and all that sort of stuff. It's all there already. It's not an extreme prediction, but it's sort of one that makes me sad.
Yeah, I would definitely agree on a couple of points. One, that this is definitely going to continue to happen. Two, this was a total cop-out. Far too easy of a prediction, Carlos. Shame on you. Absolute shame on you for such an easy prediction. You're going to get 5 stars on that one next year. For sure.
All right.
So I'm going to give my third prediction.
Oh, you have a third one?
Yeah, because my first 2 are in one. And then I'm going to come to you, and you're going to have to go out on a limb for one of them, Carlos. So my next one is really straightforward, very quick. And I think that Instagram video will be directly monetizable with ads, just like Facebook is with mid-roll ads. I think Instagram video will introduce some kind of pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll, some kind of ad format where publishers, again, it's probably going to be more like traditional publishers, maybe some creators that are more like Viney, TikToky type people monetizing videos directly on the platform with some kind of ad product. I'm not exactly sure what that will look like, but my guess is that is going to come in 2020.
YouTube video is already sort of monetized and it's all connected. So yeah, it's I feel like that's not exactly like a crazy prediction out there, but my prediction is that TikTok might fizzle.
Ooh.
I'll go on a limb here. Unless they come out with some sort of like, monetizable ecosystem. And I think they already have like a platform, and I'm probably going to eat my words. But at the end of the day, like, here's the thing, like, platforms use low hanging fruit content to build scale. Mm-hmm. But then they get that scale and they have such a hard time monetizing it to make it like sustainable. And right now we're at that point of TikTok where like, yeah, anybody can create a TikTok, blah, 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 blah. But can really anybody monetize it? Can they monetize it? Do brands feel like they should be on it? Yeah, there's always, X brand is on this platform testing things out. And it's always that way. But one of the things that nobody talks about is like, who's the audience on TikTok? 12-year-olds. All right. Well, what platform is getting their wrists slapped these days because of that? And I feel like the FCC, they're waking up and they're already paying attention to TikTok. And I think there was a really quick turnaround. There was a fine recently, a couple of weeks ago, where, they were going after him. Then within a day it was settled. But still, that's where the audience is. There might be some big brands like, the CPGs or, you think of like the Coca-Colas of this world and all that sort of stuff. But those brands, they come and go and they just create these campaigns and they use them as PR tactics. TikTok's just going to have to evolve and figure it out. The way I sort of see it evolving is they're going to try to get into a, more mature, more viable content. Longer form content, figure out ways to get people to stick around and get adults on the platform because there are no adults on the platform. So, and yes, there are some experiments and I've seen some pretty interesting channels. There's like a hospital staff one where like literally it's a hospital in Germany, I think. That was fascinating. I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. Again, that's where all the creativity is. But at the same time, like, where's the money? Like, who's going to be sustainable on that platform? So, I don't want to say demise, but there's going to be like a big change on that platform. It cannot be sustainable in this current format.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give you that one. I think you are going a bit out on a limb there because the trend is that everyone's talking about TikTok. It's growing, it's blowing up, blah, blah, blah. But I think you're right. I think there's a kind of another side to that story in that, at least in the UK, I don't know about where you are in the world, but I know it was like the fastest growing app last year, like the most installed app. Mm-hmm. Their ad spend in the UK at least was absolutely unholy. How much they were spending on ads for installs, Facebook ads, every kind of ad, YouTube ads. It was just huge. So I don't think that was all organic growth, not even close. So I don't think that's a sustainable level of growth, nor do I think it's a true representation of the kind of hunger for the platform. And also I think the kind of I don't know whether it's unfortunate or not, but something to note is that I've already heard some grumblings, at least in the US, that because of its Chinese ownership, there could be some regulation issues there. The current administration are not too happy about a Chinese company collecting data on all of those US citizens. So I think that might
I think I heard something about them establishing themselves as a US company as well, or moving things around so that it gets less worrisome for regulators. But that's all weird. And, we saw a couple weeks ago, actually, there's a TikToker that got banned. Their account got, suspended because they made some political comment. Yeah. And then I actually have a friend of mine who's their kid is one of the biggest TikTokers in the world. Her account got limited, her live TikTok or something, for the most randomest thing. And I don't remember top of my head. And again, it's falling back into that, who's pulling the strings and what they want and all that sort of stuff. And when you start blocking content for, your political views, that gets a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
Especially when the adults start paying attention to this stuff. And then, it's going to be a fun year for TikTok. And another sort of additional note, I have a friend who worked there for the past couple of years, and she told me that the word chaos is basically it in that company in terms of like getting, spending a lot of money to get people to install that app, right?
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. And that's not stuff that YouTube did, right? Back in the day, right? It didn't need to pay that much money.
Yeah.
Or obviously they promoted the platform, but all that sort of stuff. So yeah, TikTok, it's going to be a rock and roll year for TikTok. They're going to have to figure things out.
Nice one. Okay, which major video platform or social platform is going to be acquired this year? You don't even have to say who by, but anyone going to get snapped up this year?
What platform is there that's independent? There's not many out there that are still independent. I think there's still an opportunity for somebody to snap up Snap.
Twitter, TikTok is still independently owned, right? I know it's different ownership, but
it's owned by ByteDance. I mean, it's a pretty big company, so there's no way. I think if somebody buys an app, it'll probably be Google of this world buying an app like Thriller, right? And if you don't know what Thriller is, it's essentially a TikTok clone, but based in the US, right? So I think if there's apps that are going to be acquired, it's going to be these clone apps that, try to build off the idea of like what TikTok is doing and then building it in the States.
Any chance that someone's going to get hold of Twitter this year?
Nah, I think Twitter's going to be a rocking and rolling. What's interesting about Twitter is that, video is doing really well on it. And you see a ridiculous amount of like, every day I go on it and it's the platform that I still love. Funny enough, like that on YouTube, like I love going on Twitter and checking out what's happening, what people are talking about. I often see, in the last couple of months, I've seen they've rejiggered the system where if you upload a video and it goes viral and somebody tries to reshare it, you still keep credit of it. And I've noticed that a lot. And the ability to re-upload, and I hate it when people do this, like they just re-upload the video and they try to jump onto virality. And
freebooting is just right.
And freebooting somebody else's video, that gets really annoying. But I feel like Twitter's done a couple of things to sort of like make that harder. And you're right, Twitter feels like, I think Twitter's too much of a hot potato. It's one of those things where it's like it's literally the specific country's president's platform these days. So not a lot of people sort of want to get into that type of ecosystem. Now Twitter's sort of this weird animal in that space.
Okay, we've kind of both agreed that the kids' niche on YouTube is about to fall if it hasn't fallen already. Mm-hmm. What is the next niche on YouTube to fall?
To fall,
or to be wholesale kind of demonetized?
Honestly, that's a really tough question to answer.
That's why I asked it.
And I know what I'm going to twist around it. I'm going to say the thing that I want to sort of like really pay attention to is what's going to happen with mature content. The platforms announced that they want to figure out a way to have people be less demonetized and maybe putting them in a different category so that, hey, there are brands out there that want to address mature people and do not want kids watching the content. So there's going to be something out there to address those people. And I think we're basically there when it comes to what can be demonetized or not. Like any sort of abuse nowadays is demonetized. So the days of the rant YouTuber who criticizes and makes fun of other creators of people. You look at is it Keemstar?
Yeah. Kind of YouTube drama channels.
Yeah, the YouTube drama channels. Okay, as I think about it, the YouTube drama channels, right? They're the ones that are going to be a little bit killed off of the latest harassment policy enforcement. Yeah, it's play nice, or you're off the platform, so or you're demonetized. So yeah, that's the one for me.
Cool. And then final quick fire question: which YouTube feature will be put out to pasture in 2020?
Oh, that's something that I wanted to.
I just realized this is so easy. I've just realised this is so easy. So it's so easy. I'm gonna change the question before you realise it. Which YouTube feature, apart from the classic YouTube Creator Studio, will be sunsetted in 2020?
Well, the thing is, it's like it's part of the studio. Like, one of the things that I find really frustrating about the studio is how much it's dumbed down the data and sort of hides the data and the ability to work with the data. To me, it's the ability to export your data and play with it and work with it. And that's scary. To me, when a platform starts closing things down, that means that YouTube's going to find a way to sort of like, that they're limiting people's access to the API, probably raising prices on that side of things. I'm outside of that ecosystem, but, we work with people that, tap that, and they keep saying like, oh yeah, YouTube's, limiting my thing and how many pings I can pull and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, ooh, that's not fun. That means that they're closing things up, and what it feels is that there's too many people that know their shit. Pardon my French, when it comes to like the YouTube, how to create content, how to build momentum on YouTube. And YouTube doesn't like that. They want people to pay for views. They want, spend money. And anecdotally, I was looking at there's this great newsletter that I follow that's Insight Analytics, and they're talking about how Facebook's social reach and organic reach is essentially done. There's just no way for anybody to build anything organically off Facebook as of 2019. We all knew that was there, but they kept these breadcrumbs sort of going, but now it's done. Mm-hmm. And I think YouTube looks at that and is like, how can we help, our platform be that way as well? And, but at the same time, give enough breadcrumbs so that people create content on it. And that's going to be always a juggling factor on the platform. And yeah, I think that's the things that we sort of have to pay attention. You have to keep up to date on what all the SEOs are talking about. There was a big discussions this year about how the amount of people who click on organic or discovery from organic is dropping versus pay. So that's YouTube finding ways to sort of close things down and make it so that it's less about organic, it's more about paid. So, and that's scary times. Makes me want, another search engine to sort of pop up. Like I want competition out there, because Google has not had enough competition in this space. So I am myself experimenting with other search engines to make sure that, just to see what's happening. And DuckDuckGo is a search engine that just keeps growing every year. It's been growing nonstop. Yeah, I think I've gotten into a rant there, but
yeah, no, it's a great answer, and not one that I was expecting. But yeah, really great point about YouTube basically shutting down access to their API and data. I recently filmed a course and on how to do some stuff in analytics, and I had to show how to do all of it in the classic studio because none of the reporting was available yet in the new studio. So I was hoping, I am still hoping that's just they haven't hit that button yet, and that stuff will turn on once it gets switched on and switched off. But yeah, it'd be a scary thought if we couldn't easily export our own data. So that's the end of my quick fire questions. We look forward to seeing whether any of these predictions come true next year. If you've got any predictions, please let us know on the socials at Video Insiders or hello at Video Insiders FM. I've got one more question.
Ooh.
But I don't want you to answer it just yet, because I'm going to put you on the spot and say that I want us to make an entire episode about this early on in the year. And that is to let us know what is happening with you and your own YouTube related businesses. What are your plans, fears and frustrations for next year? Where do you see your business going? What your focus is going to be? And I'll do the same, and we'll kind of take you behind the veil of how we are running our businesses and a little bit more about what we're doing behind the scenes. And I think we're going to bake that a lot more into the podcast in the coming year.
Oh, good one there, Tom. Stop, with these surprises on me.
I've got to keep you on your toes. Carlos. You're getting too comfortable. So before we go, please, again, get in touch. Leave a rating and review on the podcast app that you are using. Tell a friend in the industry who would benefit from listening to the Video Insiders podcast, because if you want us to be here in 2021, we need your support. And speaking of support, we want to say thank you to our sponsor, Tubebuddy.
Thank you, Tubebuddy. If you want the ultimate tool to grow your YouTube channels, it's the tool that I recommend to all my clients. Please visit videoinsiders.fm/Tubebuddy, where you can sign up at a very special price for a single channel or multiple channels. A big thank you for Tubebuddy for sponsoring us this year and helping us get this podcast produced, done, and out on the feeds.
So thank you to everyone. We hope you had a great New Year period. We're wishing you lots of good luck, plenty of views and revenue on YouTube and beyond in 2020. So thank you and much love from me, Carlos, and Editor Joe as well. He doesn't have a voice, but
no,
the show wouldn't be as amazing as it was without Editor Joe. So thank you, Joe, as well.
Joe's voice is in the transitions and the music of the show.
And the subliminal messages that is leaving for all of you. So before Joe edits anything of any value out of my points of view, thanks, guys, and we'll speak to you in a couple of weeks.
Have a great 2020. Dun